All right, here we are with Nick Forster from Hot Rise. It's a huge pleasure to see you. Big fan for the longest time, Nick. I want to welcome you to Delaware Valley Bluegrass Festival. And there's a lot about Hot Rise that's amazing, but I want to talk to you, if it's okay, about ETown.
Cool. Well, thank you for asking. I'm so proud of Hot Rise doing 40 years and celebrating that. But, of course, ETown wouldn't have happened if it weren't for Hot Rise. So I got a great head start by being in the band and by meeting a lot of people and doing a lot of radio shows and doing a lot of media. So I learned a lot from being in Hot Rise that allowed me to really kind of get started with ETown.
Well, for people who aren't that aware of what ETown is, tell us, please, what it is and also how you got started with it.
Okay. ETown is a 1 hour long musical variety show that's syndicated on about 300 radio stations weekly. And so it's at different times and different days on each station, but it's on the same show airs across the country every week. A lot of people subscribe to it as a podcast, and we have a website that has a lot more videos and other content on it. But it's basically was born out of my being in places like this, the Delaware Valley Bluegrass Festival, where people come together because of the music. And at a time where it seems like there's a lot of divisiveness, music brings people together. So that's one of the things that made ETown make sense to me. The other was that I'm a dad and I have 3 kids. And at the time, my oldest daughter was 13. And I wanted to have some way to elevate the conversation around sustainability and climate change and the future, basically. So it's always been a combination of live music, great artists, and conversations with authors and policymakers and some scientists about what's going on in the world and how we might be able to do something about it.
Well, that's terrific. One of the things I love so much is you join in the bands and you play with them, and then you'll interview and have a discussion on the stage itself. So just as a guy who's doing interviews myself, are those questions and stuff, are they just like usually off the top of your head, or it kind of seems not so much advanced planning? At least it seems that way.
Well, I like it that it seems casual. The reality is I do a huge amount of research and homework, and I script my conversations. I write them all down so I write a script for the show. So what happens is I'll do a huge amount of research, I'll script an arc of a conversation, and usually just the exercise of doing the homework and then writing the script means that I don't need to use the script. So then when I have a conversation with the artist, I already have done the research, I've already done my homework, I know what kind of key things I want them to say. And I think the fact, because you're right, the fact that I get to play music, or that I do play music in the house band, so I often play music with our guests, allows us to have a different kind of conversation. I'm not just like another radio guy that's saying, hey, tell me about how you made your new record. We have some common ground.
Well, how do you make your new record? No, just joking. But well, one of the things you talk about the how what's the word I'm thinking of? Organic. The way the place is. It's made of solar power.
Right.
And Hot Rise put out not this album, but the album before, recorded there. How did you get such a fine location?
Well, I always knew that, I've been living in Boulder, Colorado for more than, for about 40 years. And so I've lived downtown, and when I was looking for a place to be a home for ETown, this old church that was kind of laying fallow in the middle of downtown Boulder caught my eye. And I went to the city and I said, hey, I want to buy this and I want to turn it into an ETown place. And they were like, well, you can't because it's only zoned for a church and you're not a church. And they told me that for years, year after year after year. Finally, I went online and I got ordained. And I went back to the city and I said, look, I'm not trying to be disrespectful here, but we're a 501c3 nonprofit, just like a church. We do a lot of singing. We celebrate good works in the community. And I'm an ordained minister, so you got to open up and give me the permit. Wow. And so they finally did.
Is there a lot of, it seems to me there's a lot of community help you get as well.
There's a lot of community it's become a place where the community gathers. So ETown Hall is what we're talking about. It's 17,000 square foot building right in the middle of downtown Boulder, and we do film screenings, and it's got a recording studio, and we have concerts and all kinds of, there's comedy nights and open mic nights, and it's just an amazing resource for our hometown. And I worked really hard to make it happen.
And I had years. How long has it been?
Well, I've been working on it. I was working on it for about 10 years or so. And I had to raise a lot of money to try to buy it and renovate it and put all the equipment in it. But it's there, and it's going to outlive me, and it's going to be a benefit for my community for a long, long time. And it also allows us to make stuff. So ETown is making more and more videos. We're making more podcasts, more radio shows. We're doing all kinds of stuff. So it's an awesome building.
Well, let's talk Hot Rise. Hot Rise, let's talk about the making of the last album, then we'll talk about this album as well.
Okay. Yeah, we really wanted to make a new studio record because we've been, we've been playing our core repertoire for a long time. And so I think I was one of the people who was just saying, guys, we're still around, we're still alive, we're still creative, we're all, in fact, probably better musicians than we were when we started. Let's make a record. Let's just put some songs together and make a record. And I got a recording studio, so we can use that. So they finally went, okay, and they came and we cut the record there, and that was the one called When I'm Free. And then we had a nice run of touring behind that, and then the next thing you knew, it was our 40th anniversary. So we wanted to do something to celebrate 40 years of Hot Rise. And what felt like we wanted to do mostly was just have a party. So we booked some nights at the Boulder Theater, which is where that was our kind of home theater, and asked some friends to come along. So Sam Bush and Jerry Douglas and Stuart Duncan came out for a few days last January. We made a live record that just came out, and that's how we chose to celebrate our 40th anniversary.
Right, and now you're playing here at Delaware Valley, then I believe you're going to Rhythm and Roots and Thomas Point, am I correct?
That's right. Yeah, we've got a busy weekend, and then we're going to be hosting the IBMA Awards show this year down in Raleigh, and then in November we're going to go out on the road again for another, I think, 10 or 12 shows, and then in January of 2019 we're going to do a revisit of our Boulder Theater weekend, and have that be the sort of bookend. It started there, and it's going to kind of end. That little chunk is going to end there too.
So the question is, you guys are doing so much. Now, how does that relate to ETown? Because clearly you're not going to be around for that.
It's a bit of a dance to try to do both things. For example, we closed Rocky Grass at the end of July on Sunday night. We played the last set on Sunday night, and it was a big time, and it was great. And then I went to the airport after the show and flew to Charlotte, North Carolina, because the next day we were taping an ETown show in Boone, North Carolina. So I had to just finish the Hot Rise show, go do an ETown thing, and then fly home. And so I've been doing that all along. I've been trying to sandwich the tapings of ETown shows in between my commitments for Hot Rise. In the very first season in 1991, we taped our shows on Thursday nights because I was in a band with Tim O'Brien, and Jerry Douglas and Mark Schatz and I were in a band. So in those, it's called the O Boys.
Oh yeah, okay.
And so I would record on Thursdays an ETown show, and then Tim and I, we'd leave and go out on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday work. I would edit the show on the ETown show on the airplane, go to the studio on Monday and cut it, have Tuesday, Wednesday to prep, tape a show Thursday, go out with Tim on Friday. And it was busy, and it was, I was younger, but it was okay. And but that first season of ETown, we had Norman and Nancy Blake and Pete Rowan and Edgar Meyer and Jerry Douglas and Lyle Lovett and Nancy Griffith and James Taylor and the Fairfield Four, and so many great artists came because we'd gotten to know each other from my being in Hot Rise and touring, and so that's how ETown got started.
Oh, that's great. You do have help there at ETown, with other people helping you quite a bit.
Oh yeah, we've got a great staff of about 10 people who work full-time, and a bunch of volunteers and engineers, contractors, people who come in day of show, front of house, monitor engineers, security, bartenders, all kinds of people. So, I'm proud. We're this little idea turned out to be something that could give a lot of people their livelihood and support them. And we've got, people on staff who've been there for more than 20 years. So, yeah.
All right, so tell everyone, please, tell us just how they could find ETown if they're not familiar.
Yeah, if you want to learn more about ETown, the easiest way to do it is etown.org. You can download the smartphone app from the App Store. If you just plug in ETown, you'll get an app where you can listen to all the shows. And, where our podcasts are, you can find them wherever you find your podcasts if you plug in ETown. So we're easy to find. So it's just etown.org, and tune in if you can.
And Hotrise?
Hotrise.com, HOTRIZE.com.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.